How you doing? So this is the top 5 best champions for beginners. I want to clarify, this is for beginners. So if you're a highly skilled player, you might have a different top 5 best champion in the game. I asked this question to Vega when he was making his tier list. Hey, do you think you have a different tier list for beginners? Because they don't have the same top best champions for beginners. And he didn't reply back with an answer. And I told Karate Mike too, you can't base highly skilled players as the same as beginners, because they just don't have the same playing style. They don't have the same skill level. So that's why I'm making this list for top 5 best champion for beginners. You know, my teacher told me this. She had a PhD in mathematics. I mean, that's like as smart as you can get as a person. One of the smartest person in the world, right? She told me, you could be the smartest person in the world. It doesn't mean you're going to be the greatest teacher or the greatest tutor. And that makes sense. And I see a lot of beginners, especially beginners, they ask these famous YouTubers like, who should I rank up as a champion? And like some of them, they haven't, not some of them, practically I would say all of them haven't been a beginner for a very long time. So how would they know how a beginner plays or thinks? So I feel like as an average MCOC player, I don't want to say I'm a beginner, but I would say I'm an average MCOC player, that I have a better understanding how a beginner thinks compared to somebody who's very highly skilled, because they haven't been a beginner for a very long time. So this is, I know, I believe, the top 5 best champions for beginners. So when you look at beginners, what are you looking for? Number 1, ease of use. Number 2, regeneration. And number 3, immunities. So these 3 champions have all of it. Ease of use, number 1. Number 2, regeneration. Number 3, immunities. So let's go with number 5 on this list. Number 5 is Angela. She's very easy to use. Number 1, she makes that criteria. Number 2, she also has regeneration on her. She regens, like, always active. Where's that at? Regeneration. So when below max health, if Angela does not have regeneration buff, she converts one resilient charge into a regeneration buff, healing X amount of health for 10 seconds. So she has regeneration. She also has be able to shrug up debuffs on her awaken ability. She is like, really, no doubt, when it comes to top 5 best champion for beginners, she's definitely in the top 5. There's no question about it. The fact that she would be higher on this list if you were running Suicide Masteries and if you were including the synergies with Odin Synergy. But since this is for beginners, I'm not including synergies or Suicide Masteries, because most likely they don't have the synergy champion or running Suicide Masteries. Since this is for beginners. So she's number 5 on the list. And when it comes to number 4 on the list, it's Nebula. Nebula is definitely one of the best buff of 2021. There's no question about it. And what's great about Nebula, she used to be hard to use. Now she's very simple. Just go to SP3 and then pretty much attack the opponent. SP3, SP2, and most of the opponent's going to be knocked out. She has ease of use, number 1. And I do have to admit, when it comes to Nebula, if you're just gonna, like, try to use her for SP2 only, she might not be the easiest champion to use. But if you're just going with the, as I mentioned, not worry about holding block all the time, instead of SP3 or SP2, instead of just holding block and then fire SP2, she's definitely much easier going with that route, using SP3 to SP2. She has threefold immunities. She can also regen, because as a beginner you're gonna get hit with Nebula. Each time the opponent deals more than 110% of their attack rating into a single hit, Nebula will spend 1 charge to gain her self-repair buff, recovering the damage dealt over 5 seconds. And if it's stunned while self-repair is active, it is lost. So you don't want to get stunned, obviously. But The good thing as well is self repair, and his charges are immune to ability accuracy reduction. That's also good. So I've been able to solo Hyperion taking 4 SP3s, and I was able to solo Hyperion with 100% health thanks to recovery mastery. If I didn't have recovery mastery, I probably would have been soloing the fight with like 80% health at least, maybe 90% health. But think about it. That's how insane her regeneration is. She has ease of use, check. If you're gonna go with SP3, SP2 route, um, regeneration she has, and what else? She has immunity, so that's why she's number 4 on the list. And when it comes to number 3 on the list is Corvus. Corvus, another amazing champion. Ease of use, check. Regeneration, not so much regeneration if you're not running suicide masteries. But the good thing about Corvus is probably his damage. I didn't mention damage, but boy, you have him ramped up, he can do some serious damage. And plus, when it comes to his awaken ability, he cannot die if he has glaive charges on. So that's kind of like your regeneration, I would say, or immunities combined. But the main thing about Corvus, ease of use, and he can do so much damage, especially ramped up. That's why he's number 3 on this list. Insane champion to have if you're a beginner, especially even just at Sig 1. And when it comes to number 2 for beginners, so as much as I like Diablo, I'm assuming you're not running suicide masteries, but if you are running liquid courage and willpower, then he will be number 1 best buff easily. I mean, best champion for beginners. But if you're not, um, I would say he's number 2 because of that. So as much as I like Diablo, he's not the best champion for beginners because you're probably not going to be running suicide masteries. But even without it, he's still pretty good. Ease of use, number 1, he's that. You got that. Regeneration, he has that as well. Every time he throws his Philosopher's Mix, he gains a regeneration. He regens some health. Also, if you throw his SP1, he also regens some health there as well. So he can also does pretty decent damage at the right scenario. If the opponent is not poison immune, so he can nullify buffs. And when it comes to immunity, he's 100%. He takes 100% less potency from poison. So if you're running liquid courage and willpower, this is really great for Diablo. So he's number 2 on the list. As much as I like Diablo, he's not the best best champions for beginners. So let's go with number 1. So this one is going to go to Kingroot. Kingroot is the best champion for beginners because his ease of use, number 1. Once in a while you want to throw a heavy in there, but it's definitely not that difficult to throw a heavy attack once in a while. So ease of use, number 1. Number 2, regeneration. This guy regenerations like crazy. Not even like, let's say if you have a 4-star, a level 99, Sig 99 or something like that, he can still regeneration a lot. He can shrug off debuffs. He's immune to power drain, power burn, and bleed. And then his damage is pretty decent. He has pretty much checked all the boxes. Ease of use, insane regeneration from his signature ability, immune to bleed, power drain, and power burn. So, and also not only that, he can shrug off debuffs. So like he can shrug off like liquid urge if you're running the liquid courage mastery, or any type of damaging over time debuff that he's not immune to. So this guy is, I would say, the best champion for beginners. So Kingroot, best champion for beginners. Thank you.